You are now running wild with the most underrated wrestling podcast in the world, WellsMania Podcast. I am your host, the Kyle Wells, aka WellsMania, and this right here is episode 197, the Halloween special. And I couldn't have thought of a better guest to run wild with Stone Pain Productions and I for the Halloween special than the one and only WWE, ECW, and I'm throwing the word out there. I don't care what you say. Legend Kevin Thorn, brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to run wild with us. How the hell are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing really, really good. Life right now is at a great point for me and everything else. And it's always fun when it's Halloween because it seems like I get in. People are reminded of Kevin Thorn during that time, and I get to do fun stuff like this.
Yeah, and like I said when I was talking to Payton last week, I look forward to this episode of WellsMania every year because I'm such a fan of Halloween and horror movies, scary movies. I love it all. And I thought, man, how awesome would it be if Kevin would come run wild? So look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Dreams do come true.
Or nightmares, one of the two, man. Bitches will wake us up.
That's true. Dreams or nightmares, depending on which way you look at it. But yeah, man, speaking of Halloween, I'm just going to ask you, you were Kevin Thorn. So outside of getting into that character, going back into memory lane, what is your favorite Halloween costume that you dressed up with? It could be when you were a little kid. It could be when you were in school, anytime in your life. What is your all-time favorite Halloween costume?
This is going to seem outlandish as can be, but I was a Hooters girl in Memphis, Tennessee, and I won like a gazillion dollars that night as dumb as it is. I was like, oh, I'm going to name myself Buffy. And I was Buffy the Hooters girl. I mean, long blonde wig, big old, knockers.
Hooters.
Tucked it in a way that, anyway, I won't get into that. But, luckily, they had that pouch there, that they would use put their notebooks in. And luckily, I was gifted one of those too. So I could, kind of be a little less, tight there, but putting those hose on, everything else, I have a lot of respect for the Hooters girls out there for having to wear that outfit and get their asses pinched, looked at, and everything else. I was definitely on full display that whole evening, but I did walk away with a whole hell of a lot of money. It was kind of fun. It was hysterical.
Please tell me there's got to be a picture of you.
No, man, because that's the best part is I lived in a day and age where it was straight to film. If you didn't have one of those little,
disposable cameras,
disposable cameras or whatever else, there was no digital, there was no phones. I mean, shit, I think my beeper was on that thing and stuff. You still had to have some quarters to go make a call. That's how old I am. So, I don't think there's any out there. I think my brother might have found one a long time ago and used it as bait to go, hey, by the way, I'll put this out there. And I was like, whatever. But other than that, man, it was before MySpace, Facebook, any of that crap. So I got away with it 100%. It is legend in people's minds. That is about it. That is,
you had to be there,
or haunting the nightmare in people's minds. So,
you just made me think we're probably fortunate because you and I aren't too far away in age. Peyton's a lot younger than both of us. But looking back when I was at Ball State, I'm glad that social media was not what it is today because there were probably some questionable things that I did that I didn't want to get documented. So I'm sure.
Like your rap album?
Hey, my rap album was a hit, Peyton.
Hey, they keep playing that. Who is it? Crap. I don't know why I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, they keep showing his first video, and it's just like, oh, if he can come from that, I mean, you never know. He could have been.
Yeah, I mean, I had my own, I guess you could say, my own basic thugonomics era. I had my ears pierced. I kind of went through that phase, and one day just decided to start rapping, and I put out a legit album with 18 tracks on it, and burnt these. I passed them all over the campus, and nobody seems to have one in 2025, which could be a blessing in disguise. So,
yeah.
It's for the best.
But
probably is. I was in 666 Mafia's first video. Years and years and years ago when they were breaking in Memphis. So yeah.
Wow.
Who knows where that is? So yeah.
Damn, now that would be really cool to see, because I like 3-6 Mafia, grew up listening to them, and that's awesome that you were a part of the early days, probably before they really blew up on the scene of hip hop and rap.
Yeah, it was right on the verge, and then they took off, man. DJ Paul, those guys are still cool as can be. If I see them, stuff like that. But yeah, they knew what they were doing and went after it, man. They're a success story, which is pretty cool.
I love that. It is Halloween week, and I gotta ask you, and Payton, feel free to jump in with any questions at any time if you want. I could talk all day to Kevin. What is your all-time favorite Halloween movie?
Oh, I guess I guess it's really not a Halloween movie, but Lost Boys is always still one of my favorites ever and stuff. Horror stuff, I kind of watch it. I'm not a huge horror fan. I'm definitely, pretty much all vampire stuff. I didn't mind it. I didn't mind some of the other ones, but I don't really, I'm not a huge horror guy. I don't know. Like vampire stuff, like stuff like that. But as far as like the really, really big slasher movies, I don't like, which is weird because I am so into serial killers now. It's ridiculous. Since that Ed Gein came out. I mean, I watched Ed Gein, I watched John Gacy. I'm listening, to the Ted Bundy tapes now. Like it's crazy. And then, you see on Instagram or whatever the memes saying psychologists say if you can fall asleep during this, you're psycho. I can fall asleep during any of it. And then I just restart it right where it is. I don't know why. I just fall asleep during it. It's like, it just puts me to sleep. I'm like, I'm out. All right, who'd you kill this time? I don't know. So
you and my wife both. I mean, when I found out that she falls asleep to Snapped and Killer Couples,
oh yeah,
I was like, maybe I should sleep with one eye open. I don't know what to make of this, like you're falling asleep to these murder shows. But I'm right there with you, man. I love all of the serial killer documentaries. We just got done binge watching Ed Gein and the John Wayne Gacy. And it's so wild because those people were real. Like those people existed and they did those terrible things. And you kind of lose yourself because you're watching, the guy from Sons of Anarchy channel himself. But that was a real dude. And I'm just like,
yeah.
It's crazy how sick some people are out here in this world.
Speaking of vampires jumping into wrestling, obviously notorious for playing Kevin Thorn, the vampire.
Yep.
Kind of take us into like, how did that gimmick come about? Was that gimmick your idea? Did it come from the creative of WWE? Kind of take us into that.
So that gimmick was, kind of, 50-50 because, I had just gotten released about 3 months before, like kind of from Mordecai stuff. I was still under contract for a year, everything else like that. Dreamer was down at OVW. I was still living in Louisville. They were trying to figure out ways to get me back, get me back signed, get me back with the company, all this stuff. WWE made the deal with Sci-Fi Channel, and Sci-Fi Channel wanted nothing but, vampires, aliens, all kind of stuff geared towards, sci-fi stuff too. And Dreamer, had come to me, he goes, hey, I think I got an opportunity for you to come back. What do you think about being a vampire? I was like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, because Lost was one of my favorite movies. I've always been into, vampires, Seven and Disciples of Sin, Travis Tomko. It was kind of along that realm in a way, and stuff. So it kind of, it transpired into that. It was really supposed to be me and Gangrel, and then Shelly as our manager. And I was like, absolutely, man. Gangrel is one of my best friends out there. I talk to him, bi-weekly, at least weekly most of the time, stuff like that. Me and him have tagged a crap ton over the years and stuff. It would have been awesome. And to this day, neither one of us really know what happened. Why, all of a sudden it was just me, and then he was gone. He was like literally gone. It was like all the time. It was like, all right, we bringing Dave into this at any point. So it kept going. So it was, they just needed it. I'll be honest, like the first couple of ECWs, I was like, oh shit, this is going to be a one and done. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I have to go out there and make sure that it's really good and it looks like it can travel, the course of TV, and then, keep going, or, go to SmackDown, go to Raw, go whatever, because they had an alien, or whatever they had. And then they had the zombie, and stuff. And I should have charged the phone better. They had the zombie, and stuff like that. So it was really like, oh crap. But I mean, me and having Shelly by my side just made it that much better, and stuff. I mean, she went all out into everything, and she was kind of that mainstream kind of goth chick that it just worked, and stuff. And we just, kept coming up with ideas and coming up with, different costume designs, stuff like that. And, try to make it as mainstream as we can. I mean, because during that time too, Twilight was out. So, vampires were supposed to be sparkly and all this other shit.
Yeah.
And then in Vince's mind, I was supposed to be Eddie Munster. So, it's like, that's not going to work. So it was kind of like, okay, how do we make this cool? So, I kind of based it more towards like underworld stuff like that. If I would have been making more, when I first started, I was making decent money, but I wasn't making really, really good WWE money. So, the sole goal was to really start getting some costumes like the underworld stuff, some gear like more like that. But I always, felt like, vampires always, dressed up really, really well, stuff like that. So that's why I went with like the vest and the tie, and stuff like that. I was never 100% body guy. So it was like, okay, how do I, hide my stomach a little bit, I guess. But I always had, big ass arms, big ass chest, big shoulders, stuff like that. So it's like, all right, how can I show myself off without covering up too much, but, still make it relatable to the character. And that's, that's kind of where we got. Now I would say I probably would have geared it more like towards Damian Priest look now. I think it's a killer look. I think Damian Priest has got a really, really cool, like kind of goth, vampire-ish look to him, and I think that would have, that kind of would have worked really, really well too. So,
man, I right there with you. I'm not a body guy either, so you're not alone. You're not alone. Which character did you enjoy being more, Mordecai or Kevin Thorn?
Kevin Thorn, because I had it for so much longer.
Did you feel like Mordecai could have been more than what it was?
Oh, Mordecai would have been huge. I just fucked it up. I mean, that was kind of my fault of getting a fight in a bar and kind of losing. I mean, Vince was giving me the keys to the kingdom. I mean, I was set on Undertaker at WrestleMania that year.
Damn!
Wow!
WrestleMania 21. I mean, it was gonna go that way. I mean, from Judgment Day all the way on, it was going to be a huge program. It was going to keep going and going up until that point and everything else. And I was just young and dumb, didn't know any better, and had to defend myself. So I mean, kind of got caught in a situation where it was do or die, and I probably wouldn't have died, of course, but it was, it just happened, and then it just transpired into a whole lot of faith being lost in me because they were about to give me the run of my life, and I screw it up 2 weeks beforehand. So I mean, my fault. Live and learn. I came back. I took Kevin Thorn and ran with it for a couple good years. Could I play politics better? Absolutely. But I mean, I got to be there. I got to be a part of it. It was awesome.
You would have been the one in the Undertaker streak to end it. I'm calling it right now. If we would have got Mordecai versus the Undertaker,
that never would have happened, and I would have wanted it to happen. I still never wanted it to happen. I still think it's dumb. I know Brock and Reigns, definitely are deserving of it, but I still don't get it. I think it should have gone to the grave of. I mean, he's just undefeated at WrestleMania.
Well played.
To me, but that's me. It is what it is.
We agree. Peyton and I talk about this all the time. Streak was so much of an attraction of its own WrestleMania that it should have been untouchable. Like nobody should have ever ended that streak. And then when it happened, you're like, holy shit, did that really just happen? But speaking of WrestleMania,
yes.
Kevin, I don't know if you knew this about you and I, but we were both there at WrestleMania 23, Ford Field. Of course, you were in action. I was sitting way up in the Sting seats, but that was the first time I ever got to see you wrestle live in person. And what a cool experience that must have been for you being a part of the New Breed versus the ECW originals. Walk us through how that felt for you going in, because that was your first WrestleMania.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, leading into that week and stuff like that, we never knew if it was going to happen, only because they weren't sure on times, everything else. I think we had 12 minutes to start, ended up with 8. Stuff like that. I think Trump was either behind us or in front of us, and then Batista and Taker were either or there, and it was just like, okay, hopefully they don't burn too much time, because if they do, they're going to run into ours. We're going to have like 2 minutes and stuff like that. And kind of to us, I mean, it was an awesome match, don't get me wrong, but like I think our big awesome blowout that should have been what was WrestleMania was the next 2 nights later in Fort Wayne, where we had the kind of the Extreme Rules kind of blowout, had a crap ton of time and just got to have, the time of our lives, setting that up and doing it. I think that was kind of really the big payoff for us. But no, I mean, WrestleMania was awesome. I mean, you're there. I mean, you start peering out there, and I mean, it's just fans forever and stuff. And people don't really understand, like in a stadium that size, you don't hear the reaction as fast as you do like in a normal show, because that sound goes way out and then it comes back in. So you do a move, you're like, yeah, and then it's like, oh shit, nobody's reacting to this, and then you hear it, you're like, oh, okay, kind of thing and stuff. It was really cool. you know, we get to go out there and just, you know, and tear it down and have it, you know, have our WrestleMania moment, you know, and I couldn't have been prouder to have it with the guys I had, because I mean, you know, we were kind of like the outlaws on, you know, ECW. We were, you know, kind of out there on our own doing these house shows, doing different stuff, and, you know, kind of the afterthought of WWE, you know, for a little bit. But I mean, we were having great shows, great matches. I mean, we had even a better one that was kind of a prelude to that, because we were in Mexico the week before, in Mexico City. Man, we tore the effing house down in Mexico City, and stuff. And you know, we knew we had something, you know, that was great. You know, and we were really, you know, all really proud of what we accomplished out there. But then, you know, super proud of what we accomplished, you know, 2 nights later in Fort Wayne, and then we kind of all went our separate ways. But it was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm a sucker for nostalgia. So the fact that you were in there with Sandman, RVD, Sabu, and Tommy Dreamer, I mean, that must have been part of you. You had to been like, man, I got to stay professional, but this is also really fucking cool to be in the ring with these guys, because they are ECW legends. And
no, I mean, you know, I've been in the ring with them so many times before that, you know, you know, I got those moments way before. I mean, I was working Rob in the main event on a lot of ECW house shows prior to that. You know, I'd worked Dreamer a whole ton of times before that. I'd worked Sabu a ton of times. Sandman hated my guts because I was too stiff or whatever. But, you know, it is what it is. He's like, oh, I'm too old for this kid. Stop, you know, whatever. But no, man, you know, it was something else, you know, knowing those guys, and, you know, and, you know, knowing their legacies and stuff like that, and knowing I got to be a part of it. It was awesome.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it, man. Like I said, I was there. I was way up in the nodes, drove from Muncie, Indiana, all the way up to Detroit, Michigan. It was my second WrestleMania. And it was really cool that you got your WrestleMania moment to be a part of what was one of my favorite matches on the card. Even though I'm a big John Cena guy, I really enjoyed what you guys did in that match.
I appreciate it.
Now, you worked WrestleMania. There's another PLE, or pay-per-view as they were calling them back then, that is infamous with ECW.
December to December.
That's you. Yep, that's where I'm going. Walk us through that event.
I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea.
Because you were on that show.
I was on that show. I wrestled Knox. Stuff. It was me and Shelly versus Knox and Kelly.
Yes.
It was fine, but it made no sense, because it was like, here you guys are in a tag, but the girls can't be in what the guys can be in. The girls got to be out. Like it was just, I don't know. It just was what it was. It was that whole pay-per-view, I think, was just an afterthought, and it was just glued together. You know, with the worst glue ever, and I mean, you know, I would equivalent that one to like a kindergartner with some glue and some you know, some paper and stuff, and just kind of threw it together last minute, and stuff. I mean, it was good being on it, but it was just kind of like, okay, this is it's just kind of, we're just out, we're on here because we're on TV. And we really have no reason why we're wrestling or whatever else. So me and Knox just went out there with the whole reason of just to beat the crap out of each other, and we're just going to hit each other super hard and have fun, and, you know, let the girls do what the girls do. So, you know, it was fun. But yeah, it was just, overall, you look back at it, and you're like, man, that was one that, you know, could have not have been, maybe, but you know, I got paid for it, so who cares?
Because it did feel like, as a fan watching it, almost like a glorified house show on
basically
on
all it was, and you put an elimination chamber in there just to make it look cool, and that was it.
Do you think? I mean, because it was the only ECW pay-per-view that brand got. I mean, after the one night stand shows.
Yep.
Do you think that it was intentionally set up to fail, or do you just think that creative was just didn't really care?
Who knows? You know, there's always rumors that, you know, Vince always hated the fact that, you know, the fans would chant ECW. stuff like that. You never know. They wanted the legacy to kind of fall a little bit. And it would have worked. I mean, we had some great stuff. And I mean, it did do, good stuff out there. I mean, it probably would have competed with AEW very, very well now, and stuff. So, I don't know. I would hate to think that, but sometimes you go, yeah, maybe they did. I mean, but I mean, I mean, Monty Brown's still one of my best friends to this day. I mean, I had a lot of great times doing it. So I don't, I can't ever say that I wish it didn't happen, because it gave me an opportunity. Absolutely. I mean, I think I was on 56, 57 episodes of it. I mean, it was awesome. So
what, looking back at your career, what is your favorite match that you had?
Oh man.
I know that's a loaded question right there.
Man, I had a lot of good ones. And I had a lot of good ones people didn't see. I mean, at the very, very start of ECW, was attached to CM Punk. Me and him were attached to the hip. And I mean, we had a lot of great matches. I had a lot of great matches with RVD, had a lot of great matches with Dreamer, had a lot of great matches with Sabu, and stuff. So, I mean, through the course of the years, I had a lot of great matches, with a lot of those guys. It's weird. It'll be a match that probably, maybe someone could find or whatever, but I really enjoyed wrestling a guy in England. He's since passed away, unfortunately, to cancer, but his name was Chris Travis. And I'd just gotten kind of released from WWE. I was trying to, figure out, how to run with Kevin Thorn on the indies, stuff like that. Was going over to England, and we put together this program out there wrestling on these 1PW shows, and they just kept getting better and better and better, and stuff. And we had a huge blowout. I think it was in Newcastle, England. And I mean, we went all over the arena there, had ladders, blood, all this stuff. And I mean, we just tore the house down. And it was so much fun, I think, because I got to kind of control it, do it, and have so much say in it that it was just a fun experience for me. Chris, would send me messages and stuff like, "Hey man, you really built my career. Like, now everybody's trying to book me." There are several English lads that, were like, said, that was really cool during that time of English wrestling and stuff. So I really enjoyed doing that, that stuff. There's some times wrestling Kane, I think over in England when I was with WWE, that again, wasn't on TV, but they were really, really just fun matches. I mean, in Birmingham, England, in front of, 25,000 plus, and, I'm in the ring with freaking Kane. That I can look back on. I don't know. I look back at a lot of them, and I just know how much fun I had. I mean, I wrestled Billy Gunn for a long time in different independents and had great matches with him. Wrestling with Gangrel, and having tag matches with him. I mean, some of the stuff that we did, we just had a blast. I think, as a guy that just, really, really enjoyed the time that I was in the ring and being underneath the lights and stuff like that. It just, if the mood was set right and everything else, I really thoroughly enjoyed just doing what I was doing. I hated politics, I hated drives, I hated travel, but, when you're out there in front of, those fans and stuff like that, and you're able to give them something great, and they're responding, and they're having a good time too, and it, I think that's what makes it, the greatest job on earth. So hopefully I answered your question.
Oh, yeah, no, you did. And I think, a lot of times it's personal. Like, you start getting attached to these matches that you had that like you said, nobody has seen this, but it meant so much to you.
Yep.
And I feel like those matches, they just hit different. Like,
Yep.
you know, everybody knows you from what they saw in WWE and ECW, but you know, you wrestle on the indies and you have put in a lot of work on the indies. As a matter of fact, I got to thank you once again, Kevin. I don't know if you remember this or not, but this was back in June of 2019. A upstart pro wrestler, yours truly, never wrestled a live match before, just breaking in at the age of 31. And I got invited to Upstart Pro Wrestling in Indianapolis. And you were the main event. It was supposed to be you versus Colt Cage for the Upstart Championship title. And I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Kevin fucking Thorn is in the main event. Like, I'm sitting in the back. It's my first time in a pro wrestling locker room as a worker. And I'm just taking everything in. And then all of a sudden, you get a phone call. And you being the real estate badass that you are, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. You left. You had to go make a sale. You're like, I gotta go.
Yeah, it was like, oh crap. Like, I didn't have time to do anything. And I was so new in real estate. Now I probably would have gone, all right, we can get to that tomorrow. But I was like, oh crap, I didn't want to let anybody down. Didn't want to let my client down and stuff. And I was like, oh, like, we got to change this, guys. And I think I saw that, in the crowd, somehow you had the most T-shirts out there. Like, I think you brought like 90 of your own fans, which was perfect. And stuff. And I was like, I think you need to put him in there. More people are going to react to this. Give him the belt. Do this, and I'll go out there for a second. I got to go and stuff. And I felt like crap for it because it really wasn't what I should have done. But it everything worked out and in a way it should have, because I mean you got your first real big opportunity and got to run with it and take it. And I mean everything, I'm a big believer in everything happens for a reason. I was fortunate enough to Kurt Angle got called up in Power Pro Wrestling, and I got called like 2 days before. Hey, we know you've been working house shows, everything else. Kurt's leaving to go up to WWE. We need somebody to fill a spot, and I got in because of that.
Wow.
So it's right place, right time is always the greatest thing about this business. Sometimes is when your number's called, as long as you're ready for it, you get to go out there and do it. And you went out there and did it, dude. So props to you.
No, I thank you, man, because I got to show you something.
Uh-oh.
All these years later, Kevin, I am now the Upstart Pro champion in that company. So from my debut replacing you in the main event, I am the reigning Upstart Pro champion, which, like you said, man, you seize the opportunity, you run wild with it. You never know where it's going to take you. And I just, to me, it still means everything, because had that not happened with you at that show, who knows when I would have gotten an opportunity to showcase what I'm able to do inside the squared circle. So I just wanted to say thank you for selling that house. And we'll transition right in, and we can always go back, Payton, if you got any more wrestling questions for Kevin. But Kevin, you've got a very, very successful life after pro wrestling. Mm-hmm. You are a real estate badass, and I can't say badass enough. And you're locally around the Indianapolis area. I believe you're in Fishers, Indiana. So tell us, how did you get into real estate, and where can people buy a house?
Man, like getting into real estate, it was one of those things where for me it was, taking a resume of, almost, I think probably at that time it was 15, 16 years of wrestling, and that's all I had. I went to college for a little bit, but I didn't go to college long enough. And the only real job I ever knew was working for, WWE because I was in developmental for a while, wrestled with WWE, for a while. And then I was, on the independents making my money out there for a while. Kind of the problem with, independents, out there, and I don't know if it's as bad now, but, kind of during that time, you'd get booked. For some reason I wasn't smart enough to get deposits, and stuff like that. And you'd end up at these shows and it would be, oh man, I'm sorry. The house wasn't what we thought. We can only pay you half of what we told you and all this stuff. Well, I had a wife and 2 kids and a mortgage and car payments and stuff like that, to never, go hog wild with, the money I made in WWE and, buy a ginormous house and a bunch of stuff I couldn't afford. No, I mean, I lived I lived comfortable, but I didn't go over. But I mean, bills weren't getting paid, stuff like that. My wife and I had an insurance company, also that, she was the insurance agent at, and a company there. So, I mean, we weren't terribly off, but, I felt I needed a job, that would support my family and stuff like that. I sent out my resume to a crap ton of people, and I'd get calls from human resources. Hey, we just want to, we saw your resume and started going into it. Well, what actually could you, do for us with this kind of experience? I'm like, I mean, I've been all over the world. I know airport. I know how to talk to people. I know how to do this. I can sell. I would sell myself being injured. I could easily sell your product. And it just kind of became, it never really worked out, getting a job. I was trying to get in pharmaceutical sales, medical sales. So, it turned out, hey, there's real estate. You can go get your license, and it's basically eat what you kill, kind of mentality. And I was like, well, I mean, that's pretty much how I've lived my life. So went and got my real estate license. Luckily I was smart enough to do that. I haven't studied for a test in probably 14 years before that. So it was definitely, kind of, hard getting back into that stage of the game, but, very easily once I got into it and got it done. And, in the classes, stuff like that, they were talking about, all right, what's your niche going to be? What's your niche going to be? And I was like, man, the only thing I know is wrestling. So, I took it and ran with it. And, I went with, the champ is home. I love that kind of thing. And I was like, man, I'm going to have a wrestling belt for closings. I'm going to use wrestling belts for my stuff. And really and really, take it and run with it. And I did. And, it became very successful because I was very real with people, and everybody I've taken, I've had a crap ton of clients that were wrestling fans, and I've had a lot that weren't, that became wrestling fans once they figured out who I was, and stuff. It's funny when you get an older couple that has no idea who you are. You're working with them, and then somehow they find out, and now all of a sudden they're pulling up YouTube videos and talking about wrestling and everything else. It's just fun. Oh
my God, you're Kevin Thorn.
Yeah. So just really fortunate, to be able to do it. And I think we're driven, a lot of wrestlers out there are driven in a different way. We're not afraid to hit the pavement. We're not afraid to, drive 20 hours across the country to, do a job, stuff like that. So, it just worked out well, for me. And you marketed yourself for so long that it's really easy to market a house. It's kind of second nature. You already had kind of a built-in following. The biggest mistake I think I made is about 6 months prior to that, I raced on my Twitter and everything else like that, and got rid of all my Facebook. I probably like 30 or 40,000 followers on different stuff. And one day I was like, oh, this is so stupid anymore. I'm done with wrestling. I'm just going to I just got to figure something out. And I ended up just kind of like erasing it. And then somebody ended up hacking it. It was me for a while. And then we got that ixnayed. But when we ixnayed that and got him off the account, they erased the whole account. So then I couldn't do anything with it again. So I had to build that back up, which is fine, and stuff. But, just really using, that marketing presence, that, that larger than life figure and stuff like that. And, just taking it, run with it. I mean, I looked at it like this is, your house is Madison Square Garden. I mean, and you're the champ there. You get to drop elbows on your kids, run around in your underwear, do whatever you want, just like I did when wrestling. I mean, I wore yoga pants for years. It's just the way it works.
The champ is home. I absolutely love that catchphrase. And I love that you have taken, because the Mordecai gimmick, the Kevin Thorn gimmick, they are memorable, legendary gimmicks. I mean, people still talk about Mordecai and Kevin Thorn to this very day. Yep. And now that you've incorporated your gimmick into your career after pro wrestling, it's a match made in heaven. And what do you call people that buy houses from you? You call them world champion home buyers?
World champion home buyers, yep.
Dude, if I might be looking into buying a house. My wife and I are expecting our first kid. Yeah,
have a baby, everything else. Yeah, it's time, Bubba.
Now, are you just exclusive to the Fishers, Indiana area, or can you branch out in different areas?
No, I go all over. I can go all over Indiana and stuff. I mean, furthest I try to go, just because I don't know the market, is probably Brown County.
Okay,
all the way up past Muncie, just a little bit. Just because once you kind of get out there, I kind of don't know the area as much. With my board, where my license is and stuff like that, we're kind of all central Indiana. So I've got central Indiana records, kind of from Muncie all the way down to Brown County. So it's kind of in that area there. Anything within, an hour of Indianapolis, I'm easily, know the market well enough to make stuff happen for anybody out there.
Well, my wife and I are in the Greenwood, Indiana area.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot in Greenwood.
And shout out to friend of the WellsMania podcast, Mike Wood from Bailey and Financial, because Mike had you down in Whiteland. That's my hometown, Whiteland, Indiana.
Yeah, I was down there with him and Ken last week, actually, doing their football pool or whatever that was.
Dude, I love Mike. He's a Dolphins fan. I get it, but yeah. He's a good dude, and he's one hell of a basketball player too. You have to ask him about his jump shot.
Yeah, Mike's good people, man. Mike is really good people.
Yeah, I told him he should run. We don't have a mayor in Whiteland. I believe it's a town marshal because it's such a small town. Yeah. But I told him, dude, if Whiteland ever gets a mayor, I think it should be you versus me for the first ever mayor of Whiteland, Indiana. You would win, but I think that'd be a fun matchup right there.
I like it. Mike will run with it.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell him that I had you on here because I used to play basketball with Mike a long time ago. My basketball days are kind of in the rear view. But it's like riding a bike. You can still shoot. I still got it. I think.
Yeah, I can still foul. That's about the only thing I was ever good at basketball. So,
dude, you got the size, man. You're an intimidating force in the paint. I see you in the paint. I'm passing. But Payton, you got any other questions for Kevin?
How often do you still get back in the ring? Do you still take bookings or?
Yeah, I still take bookings here and there. I'm really choosy with it, only because of, kind of like, what Kyle was talking about beforehand is, on the weekends, man, most of the time I'm selling a house or doing something with a house. I probably wrestle 6 to 7 times a year still. I've got a company, Old School Championship Wrestling, out of Charleston, that I've wrestled for them for probably almost 20 years. I think I've been in the business now 24. They hired me right out of, I think when I left from being Mordecai for a while, they hired me, and then I came back as Kevin Thorn. I wrestled with them, and Gangrel goes there a lot, and we tag there quite a bit and stuff. So I wrestled there at least 3 times a year. Anytime they call, Joe and Mary Sue are the promoters there, and they're the most gracious people on the face of this earth. Pretty much anything else I do, unfortunately, I'm at a place where I can do it the way I want to do it. I don't have to do it. So I always kind of ask the promoter, I'm like, hey, who's coming? Who's going to be there? And stuff. And if it's, a couple guys I haven't seen in a while and I want to go see, then I'm 100% there. I'm not really concerned about the money and stuff, which is weird. I know people will say that's so stupid, but it's not going to pay my bills. I would rather pay my trans, pay some stuff, have a little bit of money left over to go eat, have a great time, stuff like that. But, it's more or less for me to, still get it out of my system. Because let's be honest, wrestling is the greatest drug in the entire world. Nobody knows until they do it that it is the greatest high I'll ever have, is being in front of the fans, and being in an arena somewhere underneath the lights, entertaining somebody. So it's more just for my now it's just more for my well-being, of getting out there and just having a good time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because you said you've been wrestling for 24 years. I've been doing this for 7 years now. Of course, nowhere near on the level of where you have been. But dude, I love it, man. I love getting in front of a crowd. Like you said, there's nothing else like that adrenaline rush of being in front of a crowd. And especially with my character, I'm a very over baby face. And you've seen Mega Mondo. I pass out the bananas, and I didn't realize that passing out bananas would get me as over as it's gotten me. So
everybody needs some potassium while they're out there, Bubba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then I got the this is my upgraded mask that I wear right here. So one of these days, I'm shooting my shot right now. I would be honored to either tag you or defend my Upstart Pro Championship title against you. So I'm just throwing it out there, Kevin.
All right.
Now, what would happen? What would happen if a vampire did bite a gorilla? Would you get a vampire gorilla?
Yeah, I think it would be a vampire gorilla, and then his bananas would be what's a blood fruit? Something like that.
Dude, that would be.
You'd be passing out blood fruit from that point on.
That would be awesome. Mega Mondo got bit by Kevin Thorn, and now I am the vampire gorilla. I love it. That's pro wrestling right there.
That is. And you've played Mordecai, you've played Kevin Thorn. Is there any other gimmicks that were ever on the table that people maybe don't know about that you could have been?
I was originally supposed to be when Cade and Murdoch came out, it was going to be me and Cade. And I was going to be they had kind of, I don't know what had happened with Kevin Thorn stuff, and I kind of was down in OVW for a little bit, and then Lance Cade was down there, and me and him kind of formed a tag team. It was called Tennessee and Texas, because I was from Tennessee, he was Texas. I kind of wore a trucker hat a lot like Murdoch did. Had a flannel shirt cut off, stuff like that. We were going to do something like that. Murdoch had come on the scene somewhere in there. I wasn't on the road. Lance had been brought on the road. And it just worked out for those two somehow. I was kind of pissed because, here it was. I was kind of sitting in La La Land. But they took it and ran with it, and it was awesome and stuff. And props to those two. And it might not have worked out for me, but it was kind of my character at the time was going to be more, geared towards like over the top, Stallone and over the top kind of, trucker in a way, hat, come out, turn around, when I got into, fighting situation, as long as the hat was on forwards, I was fine. You turn the hat around, I'm ready to, tape up the fist, tape the fist and whoop some ass kind of thing, and stuff. But, I'm kind of glad it didn't happen because I really liked the Mordecai and the Kevin Thorn character, and stuff. And they really did, it's any autograph signings I go to, anything I do, they really are memorable. I mean, Mordecai was maybe around 3 months tops and is still talked about this day 20 something years later. I mean, I think the anniversary was like 20 years ago this summer. And people are still bringing it up. So obviously I did something right because there's a lot of guys out there that were a part of the show for a couple months also, and nobody even remembers them. And I mean, I get, Mordecai all the time. I've had a lot of promoters call me early on, a couple of years ago, wanting me to come do Mordecai and stuff. The biggest problem with the Mordecai stuff is all that white is a pain in the ass to keep.
I bet.
And stuff. And too, there for a while, I got a little bit fat. I was, not really depressed, but I was drinking a little too much, doing some stuff. And the Mordecai outfit looked more like the Michelin Man than Mordecai. So I was kind of like, I'm gonna stop that. So I figured out this summer that alcohol was not my friend, and went on the road of getting sober. And just the other day, I'm 5 months and 7 days full sobriety now.
Oh yeah,
awesome.
Congratulations.
It's been pretty cool. Yeah, I'm down almost 45 pounds. I almost look, actually I probably look better than some of the Kevin Thorn stuff, but I'm pretty proud of that fact too, man. It's made a lot, life a lot more fun. I recently wrestled a couple times over the past couple months, and wrestling's just different when you get to do it sober, and you get to go out there and just be clear-headed and clear-minded, and really get to enjoy it, which is something that I found is pretty badass.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, you ever been to Saudi Arabia? Because wouldn't mind seeing Kevin Thorn as a surprise entrant in the Rumble next year.
No, I don't know if I could even do Saudi Arabia, because there was a tour that was supposed to happen years and years and years ago. And because I have a great big cross on my arm and everything else, they were like, oh, you'd have to cover that up, and stuff like that. So I don't know, like certain tattoos are allowed, like if that would have to be covered, not covered. I don't know. I mean, of course I would go. I mean, if the money was right and stuff like that, I would go. But it's, I don't know if Dubai is like that. But I mean, I think Saudi Arabia would be. But I mean, it would be. I mean, it'd be definitely a cool experience. Everything that I've seen out that way has been. I mean, it's done to the nines. That is for sure.
And that's going to be the new home of WWE is Saudi Arabia.
Being an Indianapolis guy, like, you guys are, like, it's like, okay, we were supposed to have Mania. Is that still going to happen? Like,
better.
What happened to that?
Yeah.
Because
I don't
now
know.
all of a sudden it's, going overseas. It's like, what happened to us? Because, I mean, we run some great, I mean, let's be honest, Indianapolis is a great town for, I mean, the Super Bowl, we knocked it out of the park. We knocked it out of the park with, SummerSlam, the PLE that they did recently that they threw together.
Royal Rumble. WrestlePalooza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We haven't had SummerSlam. Royal Rumble was what it was. Sorry. But yeah, man, we've had Manias here, knocked them out of the park. I mean, so, I mean, location wise, I mean, talking with my real estate brain here. I mean, we're perfect. I mean, we're just far enough from Chicago. We're just far enough from Columbus, Louisville. But we got a great airport in the Indianapolis airport. I mean, we're easily accessed, and I mean, our hotels and our downtown are phenomenal. So, hopefully we get that, sooner rather than later, and we can show what we can do, as Hoosiers.
The last time that WrestleMania was here in Indianapolis, WrestleMania 8, I was there, Kevin. I was 5 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I am almost 40 years old, and we have not had Mania since. And you have got to join me on this campaign to really make sure that the Indiana Sports Corp lives up to that contract.
I know they're doing everything they can possible to make that happen.
Yeah, good people there. Good people at ISP.
Yeah, it's just now the powers that be got to happen. ISP is a phenomenal organization, and they're doing great things for this city, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I pushed hard for just getting the buzz around. We had the Rumble at Lucas Oil earlier this year, and you're an Indiana guy now. And I was like, how awesome would it be if Kevin Thorn was a surprise entrant in the Rumble? Did that ever cross your mind of a possibility that you could have maybe been in the Rumble this year?
No, and I wouldn't have wanted to be, because I wasn't in the right state then. I wasn't in the right shape then, anything else like that. Even if that call would have been probably called in, I probably would have turned that down. I wasn't there at that time and stuff. So I'm actually really glad it didn't. Not that it probably would have, but by the time Mania comes around, I'll still be doing the same thing. So I'll probably be much better prepared for that one, at least, than the Rumble.
There's a reason why Mania is going to be delayed to Indianapolis. It's because you will be ready when the time comes to make an appearance.
It happens for a reason. Of course, I'll be old as shit by then. I'm 48 now. I'll be 50 something then. But hey, whatever. Flair did it.
You still got it. You still got it, brother. And then my son, I want to do what my dad and grandma did to me at WrestleMania 8. I was 5 years old. My dad and his mom took me. So when my son is old enough to go, I want to take my old man and my son do a nice full circle moment right there.
Yep.
So
No, absolutely. That's the best part about wrestling. It's generational. I mean, it's because of how you're a fan, your son's going to be a fan, and I'm sure your dad was too, and it's something that you can share with them, and have those special moments. I mean, my son, I've taken him, with me, on several shows and stuff like that, and gets to hang out in the locker room. I don't think he didn't understand it as well. I think even at 18, just because he grew up knowing everybody's real name. Well, that's Kip. No, that's Billy Gunn.
Right. Kayfabe, son. Kayfabe.
His friends back in the day, because they'd be like, The Undertaker. Yeah, that's Mark. Kind of stuff. He'd know everybody's real name, and why are they calling him this dumb name? It's like, oh, son, that's just the way it is. So.
You bring up father son. My dad's all-time favorite wrestler is Dick the Bruiser.
Oh, dude, Dick.
Who is your all-time favorite wrestler?
I was always a big fan of Sid Vicious. Sid broke me into the business too. I was always a huge Undertaker fan. Still am. Getting to know Taker and the way I did and stuff like that only made me a bigger fan of who he is as a person and everything else. I was just always a fan of that, supernatural, kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I think, Sid for sure, and then, kind of like now, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Randy Orton, just because he's so smooth in the ring. I mean, he just makes everything look flawless and stuff. I mean, Cena, I was down at OVW with Cena for the longest time, seeing what he's done with his career, and everything else. I'm a fan of all the boys, just because they're, everybody's doing what they love and are bringing, bringing such a great light to the sport of wrestling, and stuff. And it's just, there's, as a fan, I think I've got different people for different reasons. But yeah, I think, if I had a number one, it'd definitely be Taker for sure.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick. He's one of the few biggest names in wrestling that I have yet to meet. He's definitely on my Mount Rushmore, and I really hope I get an opportunity to meet him, shake his hand, and just thank him for an incredible childhood and teenage years and adulthood. I mean, you talk about gimmicks in wrestling. The Undertaker's got arguably one of the greatest gimmicks of all time.
Of all time.
And that's one of Peyton's all-time favorites as well.
Oh, yeah. He's bucket list material for me to meet as well.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, are you going to be at Squared Circle Expo 6 next year in Indianapolis? Because you've been a part of how many squared, like, I feel like you've been at every single one, it feels like.
Yeah, I've been at several of them. Probably the only setback of that is, my son's 18. He's this is his senior year at lacrosse at HSC. And that weekend could be a big lacrosse weekend for us. And if it is, I mean, I've got to, I want to be a part of that and stuff. I mean, he's, granted, he's going on to play Division I lacrosse in college.
That's awesome.
RMU, go Colonials. But he, I don't want to miss a moment. And, that's kind of, how I've lived my life the past 10 years is, I mean, I've been at every sporting event, and a lot of the reason probably too I haven't wrestled is because I'd much rather be, at my kids' events, living their dreams, because I've lived mine and stuff, and I really, really, cherish every moment I get to see them do what they do. My daughter's a freshman now; she could be playing, so who knows. I would love to. The Squared Circle is probably, it is one heck of an event, and it's an awesome event. And I get to see a lot of old friends there, but also get to see a lot of friends that are fans, that are around the Indianapolis area. They get to come out and experience a great event. So never say never, but I gotta figure out the lacrosse schedule at this moment in time, and then I'll probably let them know, because as soon as I let them know, they're always gracious enough to make sure that I'm available and stuff. The only problem is I seem like I run around too much there, because I just want to see everybody and talk to everybody, then sit at my table. Is the one drawback they always say is, like, you just don't sit in one place. You're like running around like crazy. I am, because I'm having a great time seeing my buddies and stuff like that, and guys I've missed and just want to catch up with.
Yeah, and I love that you're a family man, and I love that you are getting the opportunity to be there for your kids. And I know that, I'm about to become a father, so I can only imagine how just truly impactful and just amazing of a feeling that is. I'll report back to you. But funny story, real quick.
You'll be a great dad, man. It's going to change your life. It'll be awesome.
I appreciate that. Funny story, though, about getting your autograph. So my wife and we went up to Michigan a couple of years ago. And I'm a big, action figure collector. And I walk into this random toy store that was right by this taco place that we were eating lunch. And lo and behold, there was your action figure.
Oh, yeah.
And I marked out. I was like, holy shit, Kevin Thorn, I got to get this. And I go up to the counter, and the guy goes, man, Kevin Thorn's one of my all-time, favorite wrestlers. And I'd love to be able to meet him. And then, of course, I may or may not have thrown my weight around there and said, I know Kevin, and I'll get a picture with him and an autograph, and I'll send this to you and to prove it. And he goes, no way. So I got this guy's number down. So when I saw you a couple of years ago at Squared Circle Expo, and like you said, you're a man on the move. I was where the hell is Kevin? I couldn't find him. And then I found you, and you signed that action figure in a red paint pen, and I sent it to that guy back in Michigan 2 years later. He probably forgot who's this, but he's like, holy shit, you really do know Kevin Thorn. And I was like, yeah, man, I wasn't lying.
That's awesome.
But I love just that, you know, you're an action figure, you're WWE superstar, real estate badass, great father, husband, family man, you're just an overall great dude. And I just appreciate everything, man. Like, I don't know if people tell you this enough, but thank you for all that you do. Thank you for everything that you're going to keep doing. It matters to a lot of us on the indies, man. Like I said, the opportunity that you gave me, you really skyrocketed my career. And I miss it because I don't take bookings anymore because I'm about to enter fatherhood, and that's where my main focus is. But 2026, hopefully I will get back in the squared circle.
Yep, you'll do it in tow and be changing diapers in the back. That's the way it works, man.
Right.
Well, last question on my end. I see a lot of cool memorabilia behind you. Do you still have the Mordecai staff, or where is that staff?
No, so the Mordecai staff is up at the WWE storage facility. You know, a couple of times when they've had those, you know, whatever they have, you know, the breaking of the vault or whatever, you see that thing sitting off to the side, and it's still there. But yeah, it was on all the ring trucks, stuff like that. They ribbed me at first because they made me take that with me everywhere. That thing probably weighed like 9,000 pounds.
Wow.
And it broke down into sections. So I had, you know, it was costing me like $100 a week just to take that thing with me on the road, because, you know, you had to check it, and, you know, and hope and pray it got there. So I had a suitcase just for it, basically, that I, you know, took it. And then finally, you know, I kind of went to the office. I was like, hey, by the way, it's getting kind of like to the point where it may not make it. So they ended up making like 3 or 4 of them. And then they were all on the trucks. So when, you know, I left, you know, WWE and went back to Louisville, you know, from being Mordecai, they were still stuck on the trucks. So I couldn't, you know, steal it and bring it home with me. But a lot of times over the course of the years that I've done Mordecai on different independents, they've always got somebody that can do it pretty damn good and would. So there's like 5 or 6 of them out there that I've signed. And I always tell them, hey, you make it, I'll sign it. You guys can sell it, keep it. I don't care. But I just feel like it makes the character. So, you know, I have them make them and able to, you know, use those as a prop when I'm out there. But yeah, they're still stuck in the vault up there. And every time I see them, and supposedly they're never going anywhere. So who knows? I mean, I at least got it there if I ever go back, I guess.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I see the crochet back there because
yeah, man, my crochet Kevin Thorn. That's a new piece that a friend of mine's mom made me. It's ridiculous. It's stuff. Here, in fact, we're almost there. I'll take it down. But yeah, this thing. I mean, it's got the coat. It's got.
That's awesome.
It's kick ass. And I mean, like I said, here's the back. I mean, she even did the back.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, she went to town on this thing, so it's pretty badass. So
yeah, I saw you tweet Matt Cardona that I bet you don't have one of these, and he's like, I don't.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. Yeah, we went back and forth on messages laughing about it. He's like, I don't have one of those. That's pretty awesome.
I love that.
So
I got one last question for you, Kevin, and then we'll send you on your way. Dream match: Kevin Thorn versus who?
Taker. Done.
Okay.
I mean, that's the only one I don't have in my belt. I mean, I got to wrestle Kane, who was a huge fan of. You know, I got to wrestle with Sid a bunch of times. You know, I've got to wrestle a lot of great people. I actually about 2 or 3 months ago, I've been trying to collect every person I've wrestled, just like a loose figure and stuff. I need to go to the toy pit here in town and just pick through it and grab them all. But I wrote down a list of everybody that I've wrestled that has an action figure, basically.
Oh, wow.
And I want to say that list was like up to like 95, 96 of people that actually, you know, are out there that have wrestling figures and stuff like that. So my goal is to kind of collect all of those and have them. And I have some over here. Let's see. you guys can see, if you can see that.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of starting them and stuff, and that's kind of my end goal is to kind of have, you know, at some point, you know, everybody that, you know, I've shared the ring with that has a figure, you know, and then hopefully guys that don't have figures yet that are out there that are about to be on TV and stuff, I'll kind of grab those as I go. I bought a Colton and Austin gun today, actually.
Nice.
You know, because I finally found their figures in Target today, and I was like, oh yeah. So I got their 2 figures and stuff. Of course, they're way more expensive being in a box. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And stuff. I don't mind paying $5 or $6 for a loose figure. When you're paying 25 and 30, you're like, good Lord.
Well, whatever you need, man. I got a big action figure collection, and whatever and I'm always in with my job. I'm always in Target, Walmart, Meijer. So whatever you're looking for, I love a good chase.
Yeah, I'll have to send you a list because I want to start trying to grab, you know, just grab them all. I just think it's cool, you know, to kind of go, you know, hey, and then, you know, the funny part is when you take that figure, you're like, you remember the matches, like different stuff. Like, you know, I remember, you know, wrestling Steiner, you know, Scott Steiner a bunch in Italy, and, you know, wrestling Rikishi here and there. And I mean, there's, you know, there's different ones you grab and you're just like, holy crap, you know, and stuff. You know, I can't wait for, you know, Ethan Page to get one. I've, you know, wrestled him, you know, once or twice. You know, those kind of guys, you're just like, yeah, I mean, it's really cool, you know, seeing where they started and now they're up there, you know, doing it and being really, really successful at it. And I think that's the coolest thing is, you know, knowing that, you know, in a small way I was a part of it, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. And you just never know where somebody's going to go. But I think that's a really cool idea. So yeah, whoever you're looking for, let us know. Cause I mean, I've got way too many action figures, and with the baby coming now, my wife's like, yeah, you're going to kind of need to,
yeah, you're gonna have to find a new room. In fact, we're gonna have to find you a house for a baby room and your wrestling room. That's the goal.
And go ahead and plug. Where can people buy a house from, Kevin?
I mean, thechampionshome.com is kind of the website that if they want to look for houses, stuff like that. You know, welcome to call or text me if they are looking for a house. You know, I kind of ask people not just call or text just to talk wrestling. You know, and I know that's kind of rude, but it is a business.
Yeah.
And stuff. You know, Instagram, ask anybody to follow me, the Kevin Fertig. Twitter is the Kevin Fertig. And then Facebook is Kevin Fertig Realty. You know, for around town, stuff like that, see whatever houses I've got, what I'm doing, stuff like that. I try to keep that page a little bit personal and a little bit business. So, you know, you will see some funny stuff, just, you know, dumb stuff I've done or whatever else, but also to, you know, kind of see the houses that I've got available at the moment that, you know, I'd love to get, you know, somebody in and, you know, get to throw the belt over their shoulder and say the champ is home with them, which is, you know, kind of the, you know, the best goal. I mean, home ownership is owning your own Madison Square Garden, man. You are the king of the castle. You are the main event at your own home, which is pretty cool.
I love that. And my wife and I will be in touch when we finally decide.
You better be. Or
yeah.
I'll haunt you.
I'm coming to you, brother, for sure. Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time to run wild on the Halloween special of WellsMania Podcast. Payton, real quick, go ahead and plug your social media and we'll get you guys out of here.
Follow me on Stone Pain Productions on TikTok and Instagram and X. Again, we're doing the Halloween costume contest, so make sure you got a couple days left to enter that. Stone Pain Productions.
And anybody who dresses up as Kevin Thorn automatically wins.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Payton, Kevin, thank you guys very much. Kevin, you are more than welcome to come run wild on WellsMania Podcast anytime. And if there's anything you ever need from me, don't hesitate to reach out to me, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Same here. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you, Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the legendary Kevin Thorn. Hey, happy Halloween, Payton. That was awesome. Kevin Thorn, good
Great.
dude. Would love to get him inside the Wrestle With This ring.
Hopefully one day we can make it happen.
I hope so too. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of WellsMania Podcast. Until next episode, take care, stay positive, run wild, and dominate the day. Thank you, Kevin.